Please welcome back to the Author Advantage live stage, Aaron Schaefer.
Hey, welcome back from the break. Author Advantage Live, day 3. Do you guys still have some juice left? Yeah, how many of you guys are feeling at this moment, how many of you guys can feel like my brain is extremely full and yet simultaneously also don't want the weekend to end? Any of you guys feel like that? Any of you guys feel like, man, I already have more ideas than I can implement in an entire year, and yet I'm also sad to see it coming to a close. So, well, we have just power-packed last couple sessions for you. And right now, we are going to talk about something that I think is so important if you are truly ready to go all in on your author business. How many of you are starting your author business this year? We talked about treating this like a business and perform like a business. How many of you guys are ready to go treat this like a business and not just a hobby? I want to see a bunch of show of hands on Zoom. I'm looking all around. Yeah, well, if we want to treat our author career like a business, one of the things that we have to do is we have to make the decision to not reinvent the wheel. We have to make the decision to not reinvent the wheel because there are already authors who have executed at a really high level exactly what you want to accomplish. If you're someone that says, I have a single standalone book that I really just want to market extremely well to make sure that it reaches as many people as possible so that it can have as big of an impact as possible, there are authors who have done that. If you're someone that wants to write an entire series of books and you want to write 10, 15 books in the coming years, have one book linked to the next, have a strong sell-through rate, there are authors that have done that. If you want to build a speaking career on the back of your book, if you want to build a high-ticket offer, whatever you're looking to do, there are authors that have already done this at an extremely high level. And if we want to get to the spot where we accomplish everything we can, learning lessons from those who have come before us and being a student of the game and seeing what works well for those authors can leave some breadcrumbs of things that we can follow. So we're going to talk about a few things today. In this part, we're going to talk about the path towards mastery in whatever you're looking to accomplish in your author career. The first thing that we need to do if we want to become a student of the game, truly a student of the game, where we don't just learn at conferences, we don't just learn, one-off here and there, but we're a student of the game throughout the entire year, is we need to first find authors that you wish to emulate. Find authors that you wish to emulate. So find authors that have already accomplished what you want to accomplish. Find authors that have already walked down that path. Now, here's the thing I would really encourage you to do. Just because you like an author doesn't mean that author might be someone that you want to emulate. You might look at what they do and ultimately come to the conclusion, you know what? I love their content. I love their speaking. I love that author. And what they've built actually is not really what I'm looking to build. And that's okay. So you really want to study these authors that you're drawn to, see what they're doing, and find the ones that over time have built what you are looking to build. Find authors that you wish to emulate. Now, I would encourage you, if you're taking notes right now, I would encourage you to find 3 types of authors, all right, that you wish to emulate. The first is the author that is already there. So if you're saying, I would love to build something like what Amy Porterfield has built. I would love to build this course-based program, speaking, podcast, all of these things. And they're there, like tens of millions of dollars of revenue. Like I would like to build that eventually. And then what you need to do is you also need to zoom back a little bit and say, who's the person that's maybe a few less steps down that road? Who's the author that has launched their first course that's going well? But maybe it's someone that's in multiple 6 figures of revenue, not quite tens of millions of dollars of revenue, and it's a little bit less built out. And then find the author that maybe has recently launched their first course and it's gone well. It's gone well. They've built what you want to build and they're in those early stages, but it's going well. They ran their first webinar. They've done $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 of revenue from it. You've seen the success leaves clues, but they're a little bit closer. If you'll be able to find authors you wish to emulate that are a couple steps ahead of where you're at currently, and then a little bit farther ahead, and then ultimately quite a bit farther ahead, what's going to happen is by studying these authors, and what they are doing everywhere, this is going to give you a really good model for how should I think about my author career? How should I think about my author career? And then what we need to do is we need to prioritize and execute. Prioritize and execute. So we need to say, out of all of these things, I'm looking at their author website, I'm looking at their social media profile, I'm looking at the ads that they run, I'm looking at all of these things, the offer that they have. What should I start with first? Which of these items do I feel like would move the needle most right now? What could I take action on next week, next month, this quarter, that would move the needle fastest in my author career? Because you're going to find a lot of things. You're going to find a lot of things that are working at a very high level for these authors. And what you need to ask yourself is, what am I equipped to do first, best, and will be most impactful? Prioritize the order in which you want to roll these things out, and then execute. So what I'm going to do right now, over the course of the next 40 minutes we have together, is we are going to go through and we are going to talk about the different things that you want to study. The different things that you want to study if you're looking to build this author career. So the first thing that I would encourage you to look at, is social media. Social media. All right, so in social media, there's a handful of things. There's a handful of things I would encourage you to look for. One is you want to ask yourself, what platforms are these authors on? What platforms are these authors on? Because not every platform is right for every author or genre. There are some types of books that do great on Facebook. There are some where it makes a ton of sense to be active on LinkedIn. There are some that could really do well on TikTok. By looking at where these authors, who are already along the path of where you want to go, by seeing where they choose to post, it's going to give you clues as to what platforms might be best for you if you have related content or related mission. I would look at frequency. Frequency. How often are they posting? How often are they posting and on what cadence? Are they the type of person that is posting twice a day, crazy active? Are they posting 3 times a week? Frequency. Their content. What type of content are they posting? Are they doing a lot of reviews from their book? Are they doing a lot of images of just motivational quotes? Are they doing polls? Are they posting original content, or is it more reposts of articles that they think that their audience might really enjoy? Are there many calls to action in their social media where it's trying to direct them towards a free resource or even something that they could purchase? Or do they not do any CTAs on social media? What type of content do they post? Do they run any ads? Do they run any ads on social? Because here's the thing about social media advertising. Profitability varies wildly. There are some types of books and some types of offers that you can do very well on in Facebook. There are some types of offers that you can do really well with on LinkedIn. And there are some where you're going to get absolutely crushed on one of those. For us, Facebook advertising is extremely profitable for selfpublishing.com. We've experimented with LinkedIn. And are there a ton of authors that we would love to reach on LinkedIn? Are there a ton of business professionals that should write a book and would be an amazing target for us? Absolutely. And yet, as we have tried to run ads on there, and as we have treated this like a business, tracked our ROI, seen exactly how much it costs us to acquire a customer, and then the value of that customer, it wasn't profitable. And so we don't do LinkedIn advertising. And so what's going to happen, now that might not be true for you. LinkedIn might be great. So if you are studying authors that are in your genre, if you're studying authors who have already accomplished what you're looking to accomplish, and you see where they're advertising, it's probably going to give you some clues into places that might work well for you. Email marketing. This picture cracked me up. I was thinking, what will get more people to click on things than a cat? And so if a cat is actually reading an email, it felt perfect to me. So email marketing. We need to make sure that if you're going to do this, that you do it well and that people are actually opening your emails and enjoying them. So things to consider. Now, first of all, before you can consider any of these things, subscribe to several newsletters. Subscribe to their email list. Any of these authors that you wish to emulate, follow all of them. And then read their emails. Don't just follow and then get the emails and delete them immediately. See their subject lines. See their content. Take a look and see what's the ratio of value add content in their email versus sales copy. There are some email lists where it's purely value. It is 100% things that they think their audience will benefit from. And they don't do any selling in the email. And they trust that those people are going to also visit their website and blogs and eventually become customers. Perhaps you see someone and it's more like 50-50. value-add content, email content that's more of a CTA, to take an action, to join a webinar, to buy a thing. What's their ratio of value to sales? How do they weave in story? How do they weave in story? What types of emails? Is it more of informational, fact-based, or is it more narrative in style? What type of emails do they write? Do they do long-form emails where it's almost like a blog post? It is a pretty long email, and yet, even if that's not effective for email marketing, if someone has subscribed to your newsletter and the type of business you're looking to build, the type of author brand you're looking to put out there in the world, if the people that you are looking to emulate do pretty long-form emails, it's probably a relatively good indication that that's working for them. That putting out longer emails that are just very informative, that they're actually getting read. Otherwise, this highly, highly, highly successful person would probably have stopped doing it. So are they doing long-form emails? Are they doing content roundups? Taking a look at their email and saying, what's working for these people that are at the top of their game? Success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. How many of you at times are intimidated by the idea of an author website, where it's like, okay, oh my gosh, where do I even begin with this? So often when I talk to people, and I'll talk to aspiring authors, and I think they think their author website has to be this monumental thing where you're like the scientist staring off and it's like, where do I even begin? What do I even do? How do I prioritize what to put on here, where to go, right? So here, there are a handful of elements that you need to consider. So I would encourage you, find some of those websites. Find some of those websites of the people that you want to emulate. People that, first of all, again, are closer to where you are. They're only a couple of steps down the path. Their website is probably where you want to start. And then eventually you'll probably build out your website to the person that is a few steps ahead, and then eventually to the Amy Porterfield. Elements of the website that I would really encourage you to look at as you're becoming a student of the game, as you're studying what's working. The first thing I would look at is layout. So just the general design, How busy is the website? How many different elements are there? Is it crowded or is it a lot of open space? Just looking at the general layout. The nice part about web design nowadays and building landing pages is there are so many templates that you can choose from, so many templates that are really well designed, that if you find a layout that you like, you can probably find a template that mirrors it pretty closely. So look at the layout. See the blog content and the frequency. Not every website has a blog. If you find that all these authors don't choose to have a blog, probably a pretty good indication that you're going to waste your time if you have one. But if you find that all three of them have a blog and they're relatively active, might be worth considering. How often do they post? Is this very inactive, once a month, and it's really for just a big topic? Or are they posting weekly, twice a week, daily? How often are they posting? What type of content do they put out there in the world? Is this helpful so far? Is this making sense to everybody of how we can be a student of the game? Yeah? Good. This is a much more technical part. Call to action buttons. Call to action buttons. So do you have something that you're giving away? Is there some action you're looking for them to take? Style of the button. Color scheme. What do the words in the button say? How do they entice people to take action? How high on the website do they have them? Is there a call to action? Is there a CTA right up towards the top? Is it a little bit more in the middle of their website? Is it close to the bottom? All of these things, as you become a student of the game and you say, what's working for other people and how can I do more of what already works? How can I do more of what already works? Newsletter subscription forms. Do they have a newsletter? How do they entice people into it? Lead magnets. What kind of lead magnets do they have? Because as we try to brainstorm what could be a high converting lead magnet for me, if you look and say, well, this person is in my genre, this person is serving the audience I wish to serve, clearly whatever lead magnets they're creating, probably they've seen holds value. Otherwise, they would have kept testing things. And obviously, you're not copying their lead magnet. You're not making the same thing they've already made. But thinking about similar, if some type of journal seems to be doing well for them, you should probably create some type of journal of your own. If it's more of a checklist or a PDF that walks them through A, B, and C, then your own version of that for whatever your specialty is. What kind of lead magnets do they have? Let's turn our eyes to publicity. Publicity. So we talked a little bit about this in my part yesterday. Ask yourself these questions. Are they doing any kind of in-person events? Are they doing any kind of in-person events? So these might be speaking at conferences, retreats, book signings. Do they do any guest blog posts? this is a great way just Googling that person and seeing some of the other things that come up, not just their website, but going into page 2, page 3, seeing any other places that they show up on the internet. Do they do any guest blog posts? If they do, it might be not a bad idea for you to do that for your author business. Volunteer to do a guest blog post for them. Maybe you do a blog exchange. And then like we talked about yesterday, now you're getting a backlink from that website back to yours, and you're increasing the search engine optimization for your own site. What podcasts have they been on? What podcasts have they been on? If you simply Googled podcasts that Amy Porterfield has been on, you probably will come up with a decent number of podcasts that Amy Porterfield has been on. But another good way to do that after doing the Google search, go to their social media feed. Go to their social media feed and just scroll. Just scroll for the last 2, 3, 4 months, however far back you want to go. Because when someone, especially an influencer, has been on a podcast, they're almost always going to post a link to the podcast once that episode comes out. Almost always. And so if you just go back to social media, you can actually go through and see all the different podcasts that they have appeared on. And then you look up those podcasts and you do exactly what we talked about yesterday, which is you say, which of these are the more the BC pod level podcasts where they have some bigger name guests, but they also have some guests that are a little bit closer to where I'm at in the author journey. And then those are great ones to reach out to. Great ones to reach out to. All right, the next thing we want to look at is paid ads. So where do we choose to spend our advertising dollars? Where do we choose to spend our advertising dollars? And one of the things that I think is the biggest misconception about paid ads is so often, I'm going to show you this, this picture cracked me up. So paid ads, I feel like a lot of people think that paid ads are a lot like the lady on the left here. It's a slot machine. It's totally just luck, right? This is, I'm just going to put money into Amazon, cross my fingers, and just hope to God that it results in money coming back to me. Whereas what I will tell you is that paid ads are a lot more like poker. Anyone in the chat know the difference between a slot machine and poker? What's the difference between a slot machine and poker? Tell me in the chat. No? Anyone? Who's the first person? Yeah, Joel said skill, luck versus strategy. One takes thought. Yes, exactly. And so what happens is there's a reason why there are quite literally professional poker players, because it is a game of skill where you're playing against other people, and eventually the better players do win money over the long term. Now here's the thing. Do the best poker players sometimes lose some money? Yeah, absolutely. On an individual game of poker, they might lose, they might win, but over a long enough period of time. And with paid ads, it's very similar, is that on a given day, on a given week, your ads might go up and down, and that's normal, so there is variance. But if we are a student of the game, if we take a look at all of these opportunities, Amazon ads, BookBub ads, social media advertising, if we look at Google ads, and we say, okay, these authors in my genre, with my topic, with my ultimate goals, are choosing to advertise on Amazon. I see their ads pop up when I go on there. They're choosing to use BookBub. I get their emails. I see their email. I see it on social media. Then it's leaving breadcrumbs that those might be profitable places for you to consider as well. Now, if this author, you never see ads for them on social media, and this is someone you follow, if you follow them, you go to their website frequently, you're on their blog, and you don't see ads for them, pretty good chance they don't advertise on that platform. Because the way Google works is they're tracking all your traffic, and if you've landed on this website, they're going to show you those ads, right? Because you know that they're engaged with that content. So by looking and seeing where do they choose to spend their ad dollars, it's not a bad indication of where you might want to consider spending yours. Now again, coming back to yesterday, treating this like a business, you have to measure your true ROI and figure out, are these ads profitable for me? Now, don't do this on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. I think it's more like every 2 weeks, once a month. If you're looking at your ads every single day, it's almost like looking at the stock market every day, where there's going to be variance, and you'll drive yourself crazy if you look at the stock market every single day and ask, is it working? Whereas if you say, all right, let's take a little bit of a longer timeline on this and see if it's working or if it's not. Let's talk reader engagement. What does the authors do to get reader engagement? Do they run any type of contests? Do they have any quizzes? Quizzes are an incredible way to drive engagement with your readers. People love taking quizzes and getting the results. Do they do any form of giveaways? Maybe it's a free copy of their book, whatever it might be. Do they do any free giveaways? Any things that you can emulate? Success leaves clues. Do they do Q&As? If you get to a certain spot where you have a large enough audience, where if you send out an email saying, hey, I'm doing a live Q&A Wednesday evening at 7, and it's a large enough email list that you feel confident that it's going to drive enough people that it's worth doing, Q&As are a great way to drive reader engagement, because ultimately our goal with reader engagement is we want to build a community around what you're doing. We want to build a community instead of just consumers. If they're just consumers, they're reading your book, hopefully their lives are being impacted, that's fantastic. But if we can build community, if they feel like they have gotten a chance to get to know you through reader engagement, that takes us to the next level. Seeing how these successful authors that you would like to emulate drive reader engagement can go such a long way. Cross promotions. So cross promotions are a great way, not that type of cross promotion. So this is a vendor selling crosses, but it made me laugh. So guys, I am 41, I have kids, I'm a dad, so you have to have at least one dad joke for the whole weekend. I saved it till the end. So one dad joke. So cross promotions can be a really good way for you to work with other authors that have your audience. So it's like they have the audience very similar to my audience. And the thing you want to look at is authors that are about at the same level of sales as you are. If you reach out to Stephen King, it's like, hey, you want to do a cross promotion? I can send to my email list about your book. You can send about mine to yours. Stephen King might be like, this feels one-sided. Whereas if you look up books that you think, man, if that audience, if they like that book, they'd probably love my book, and vice versa. You can create these win-win circumstances. These win-win circumstances where you are promoting this book for this author because you think that holds real value for your audience. You feel like they would really benefit from this book, and vice versa. Now that author is promoting you. Cross promotions can be an incredible tool. So as you're looking, see, does this author that I'm following, whose career I wish to emulate, do they do a lot of cross promotions? Do I see them promoting other books? That's a pretty good indication that they're doing a lot of cross promotions. Cross promotions can be a great thing. So this is the last thing. So we're going to go a little bit deeper in this topic. So last but not least, if we're going to be truly students of the game, last but not least, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. Man, what a sound effect. How many of you guys, when you think about artificial intelligence, like this is how you feel right now, or it's like Terminator in the library, we are going to ruin all things creative, the entire publishing industry is about to be completely destroyed, AI is coming to ruin everything, doomsday is upon us. People have been talking about this day for years throughout fiction, of like when the machines become self-aware, and then all of humanity crumbles. Any of you guys feel that way right now about AI? How many of you guys feel not that way, but you feel like this? I kind of want to just not even think about it. Like, it's over there, and I've heard a lot of people talking about it, and I kind of want to just stay in my lane over here. That's the non-AI lane. How many of you guys, if we're being honest, are like, I'm just opting out right now of AI? It sounds trendy, it sounds cool, and so far I've just been opting out. I've been sitting on the sideline. So, artificial intelligence. What if instead of Terminator destroying everything that we hold dear, what if it could be more like this? What if it's just our friendly companion, sitting in the park, doing life with us in whenever we choose to, and we are able to actually use artificial intelligence to enhance what we're doing, not replace it. Artificial intelligence is never going to replace the creative. It's never going to replace our role as an author. But what if we could use it to enhance what we're already doing? What if we could use it to enhance what we're already doing? So I'm going to share with you a few really good ways that you can leverage artificial intelligence in your writing career if you so choose. So one of the tools that all of you have probably heard quite a bit about is ChatGPT. ChatGPT. For any of you that are like, I've heard of this, and I still, so write down ChatGPT. And so this is a tool that can be really effective at helping you enhance your writing. And what it can't do is spell check your slides so that if you add a slide and change the title, that you forget the R. That's on me. I changed my title of this slide earlier today and didn't proofread it. So enhance you writing with AI. Should have had AI help this slide. Clarity and coherence. There's a few things that you can do with AI that's really, really, really effective. So it can really help with clarity and coherence of your writing. It can really help with grammar and syntax. Very, very good at this. It can actually help quite a bit with descriptive language. If you want to add more descriptive language into your writing, you feel like that's an area of weakness as an author, it can actually be quite good. It can also really help with audience engagement. It can really help with audience engagement. So how do I get better hooks at the beginning, different things? So I'm going to show you a few prompts. So the key to using artificial intelligence and using it well is you have to give it effective prompts because it is going to do what you ask it to do. And the more effective and the more clear the prompts that we give, the better the results that you are going to obtain. So let me give you a few of my favorite prompts that'll help you in your author career to help you with your writing. So here's one. I'll give you a couple with clarity and coherence. So here's a great. Please help me rephrase this paragraph to make it clearer and more concise. You can quite literally in ChatGPT take your paragraph, put the paragraph, cut and paste, and then say, please help me rephrase this paragraph to make it clearer and more concise. And it will do that. You can say, please suggest ways to improve the flow and transition between these paragraphs. Let's say you're having two paragraphs and you're like, this feels clunky. I'm not sure how to make this transition effectively. Very, very effective. Grammar and syntax. Please proofread this section and correct any grammatical errors or awkward phrasings. You'll be pretty amazed if you try a paragraph in there and ask them to do this, how effective it is with what it comes back to. Help me make the verb tenses in this paragraph consistent. Any of you ever struggle with verb tenses where sometimes as you're writing, you're like, man, I feel like I'm a little bit all over the place with this? You can put in a paragraph or several paragraphs, a full page, and say, help me make the verb tenses in this paragraph consistent. And it's really effective at helping this. Descriptive language. If you struggle and you say, I feel like my writing could use a little more oomph, just a little bit more. Great prompt. Help me find stronger adjectives and adverbs to convey the emotions or the atmosphere of this scene. Please suggest metaphors or similes to make this description more evocative and engaging. I'm going to give you an actual example. So this top one, help me find stronger adjectives and adverbs to convey the emotions and atmospheres of this scene. I did this literally this morning. So here was the original paragraph I gave to ChatGPT. I walked out of the courtroom frustrated. I couldn't believe he was going to get away with everything he had done. It all seemed so unfair. That's not a bad paragraph. Well, it's fine. 7 out of 10. It's okay. And I said, hey, let's make this more engaging. Help me get a little bit more emotion into this. I gave that exact prompt that I highlighted for you guys. This is what it came back with. I stormed out of the courtroom seething with frustration. I was utterly appalled that he was going to get away with all the despicable things he had done. The whole situation felt outrageously unfair. How much better was that paragraph? How many of you guys like right away was like, whoa, okay. Now we're cooking with grease. This is good. This is good. This is something like you can really, and again, here's the thing. So this paragraph right here, to be clear, I might have taken out one or two of those adjectives or adverbs. I might have actually taken out one or two of those. So you might look at this and say, that's really good, and I'm going to remove one or two. So this doesn't mean that we turn our brains off. Using artificial intelligence doesn't mean, hey, AI, please write my book for me. It means, hey, give me some suggestions. And then you can take what you like, leave what you don't. It's about using technology to increase our effectiveness, increase our efficiency with what we do. It can also be good for audience engagement. If you're struggling, you're like, hey, can you suggest ways to hook the reader from the beginning of this chapter? You can put a chapter in, and they can give some suggestions. Here's 5 or 6 sentences that you could use to hook people from the very beginning. Please help me create a compelling opening sentence for this chapter to entice readers to continue reading. These can be really, really good prompts just to give you little sentences. So now again, this is not about us using AI to write our books. This is about us saying, hey, I've already done the hard work of writing it. Are there any small tweaks that we can do that would make our writing a little bit more powerful? And then if there's ever any areas where you feel like, this doesn't feel totally like me, this doesn't sound exactly like my voice, you take what you want and leave what you don't. Take what you want and leave what you don't. I'm gonna give you guys a quick case study. So this is not just for improving your writing. This can also be so good. This can also be so good for just brainstorming ideas. So whether or not you're thinking about, okay, I need to come up with some blog posts for the quarter. I know that here's my audience, here's their pain points, here's what they need. Oh man, what are some good ideas that might be good blog posts to write? AI is fantastic for brainstorming. There is so many different things that can make us more effective with our overall author career, not just improving our writing. So I'm gonna give you a real quick case study, and let's roll video. Whoa. I saw a couple people in their videos literally make this symbol to themselves, right? I saw a couple people in the live audience. So here's the thing. I started preparing this part. And originally, as I was brainstorming everything I was going to talk to you guys about, we realized, looking at the outline, that we had nothing in the entire time of Author Advantage Live about artificial intelligence, and it's such a big topic today. And so I was like, all right, I should probably include 10, 15 minutes on AI towards the end of it. And I had not yet done my slides, not yet written my outline. I knew I was going to talk about social media and ads and author website. And then I thought to myself, oh, this might be fun. I wonder if I put into ChatGPT the exact prompt of my talk. I wonder what it would come up with. I wonder what it would come up with. Was that mind-blowing to anybody? Was that crazy for anybody as you looked at that? Well, here's the thing. This is one tool. I have shown you a singular tool. There are so many others out there. What if instead, any of you guys ever do presentations? Any of you guys do presentations? How many of you guys ever put together PowerPoint presentations and you struggle to find the right image? And you're like, I'm like going through, like I would need a picture of a lady doing this thing and I can't seem to find one. So there's another thing called Midjourney. Midjourney, 2 words. Midjourney. And Midjourney is artificial intelligence that creates images. You pay $10 a month, you own the images afterwards, you can use them for whatever you'd like to. So what if you're struggling and you're like, man, I'm putting together this part, and the point that I'm about to make is what you measure you can grow. What you measure you can grow. And I would love some kind of cartoon. And what if you are struggling to find the right image and you went to Midjourney and you were able to say, imagine a Pixar-style illustration of a boy with blonde hair standing in a cornfield. He's slightly shorter than the corn, currently holding a large ruler that's approximately the height of the corn. That look familiar from yesterday? This was Midjourney. Imagine a painting of a friendly-looking robot sitting in the park with an elderly couple. There's a lake in the background surrounded by trees. Imagine an impressionist painting of a cat wearing a pantsuit, scrolling on a cell phone. So here's the thing. All of these things start with you having the idea. And this is the misconception about artificial intelligence, is if you don't have the creative, funny idea of like, oh, you know, it'd be kind of cute in the middle of my presentation. This might be kind of a funny way to make a point. None of this exists. If you haven't already got the bones of what you're going to write, if you haven't already written your book and you're like, hey, I just want to make this a little bit better, then it's not going to exist. Artificial intelligence is not about replacing the creative. If you choose to use it, it's about enhancing. Artificial intelligence can't stand up and do the presentation. Artificial intelligence can't do all these things. Artificial intelligence isn't going to come up with a dad joke for you, but if you're like, you know, it'd be kind of a funny joke in the middle of my presentation, since I only get one dad joke for the entire time. Chandler told me you get one and that's it. What if I was to imagine a hyper-realistic photo of a vendor in a farmer's market? The vendor is standing in front of several booths in the background. He's a friendly-looking old man with a smile on his face, holding up a large wooden cross necklace that he's selling. You have to first imagine it for it to be existence. You have to first be able to imagine it and have the idea of, what do I want to create? How can I use this as a tool? The key with technology is how we choose to use it. The key with technology is how we choose to use it, because the reality is every technology can be used for good or for bad. True? Every single one of these things, every technology that comes, the cell phone, the laptop, can be used for good, can be used for evil. With the cell phone, the cellular phone has made so many people in our world massively more efficient. It's also caused a lot of us to be cell phone addicts that spend a ton of time scrolling social media, playing games, and wasting time. For some people, it's become a real negative. For some people, it's made them more efficient than they could have ever been before. Artificial intelligence is going to lead a lot of people to spend a lot of time in Midjourney creating stupid images of cats with pantsuits scrolling a cell phone. And it's also going to help a lot of us become that much more effective and that much more efficient at writing and at building our author career. So I would encourage you, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's building your website, whether it's planning out your social media, whether it is doing an email list, what ads do I do, just commit to being a student of the game. Commit to being a student of the game. How can I do more of what works? How can I do more of what works? Because success leaves breadcrumbs. So I would encourage you guys, coming out of Author Advantage Live, find those authors you wish to emulate. See what they have done to be successful, and don't stop learning. Don't let this be your one learning time of the entire year for your author career, where you come to Author Advantage Live, you get everything out of it. Keep learning, keep growing, keep leaning in. Some of these things you should use, some of them you shouldn't. If all the stuff I just talked about made you uncomfortable, don't do it. But it could be a good tool for some of you. Thank you guys for your time. This has been so much fun. This is my last time with you, so appreciate all the time. Enjoy the rest of Author Advantage Live.
Yeah, give it up for Aaron. Dude, I love that prompt. I was literally, so I'm backstage watching the ChatGPT stuff, and I never thought about studying somebody else's marketing and what should I look out for. Like, you want to talk about a ninja tip on how to use artificial intelligence. I played around with ChatGPT and Jasper and some of those others, but I never thought to let that study people that I wanted to emulate as well. So that was my big takeaway from that, and hopefully you guys found some awesome stuff. Oh, man, Aaron, you're getting a lot of love out here, buddy, in the chat, man. They loved that training. Yeah. Instead of looking at AI, I had somebody tell me this not too long ago, that instead of looking at it as competition or looking at it as, oh, it's going to do my job for me, it's like the ultimate personal assistant, right? Like the ultimate personal assistant that can help you do the things that you want to do as well. So let's keep this party rolling. Hey, I love the fact that so many of you have your backgrounds up. You accelerators, congratulations. I love seeing that. I love seeing this too. Hopefully you guys are still plugging into your dashboards. Who's going to be our winner tonight? That's going to be really fun to see that as well. Hey, you've already heard from our next speaker during this event. He covered how you're going to overcome imposter syndrome. But now we're going to talk selling. Would anybody say that the content part is great? Like, I know my message. I know what I want to put out there, but when it actually comes to asking somebody to buy, to self-promote, to sell, what part does that make anybody else nervous? Is that the part that you're like, hey, all day, look at, there's a lot of nodding and there are a lot of hands up. Okay, well, you're in the right spot. You've been in the right spot for 3 days, but just you're continuing to be in the right spot. He's going to share with you how to sell without fear and to sell in a way that people really want to buy. So help me welcome back to the stage, Chad Aleo.
Oh, man. Man, look at all that green. How's it going, Virginia? Oh, good to see ya. Oh, man, it's so fun to be back out here for my final talk. All right, so we are going to be discussing selling with no fear. All right, selling with no fear. All right, and so as we get this getting ready to rock and roll, if you guys could get a notepad out here, all right, we are going to get ready to break down the strategies of what it's going to take to, of course, do this and do it the right way. All right, and so many of you guys know a little bit about me. All right, my name is Chad, as of course, you guys have seen me already. All right, and so I am from Michigan, born and raised, best-selling author of the book on high-ticket sales, head strategist, 8-figure sales trainer. Fun fact, employee number 8. Now, what I want you guys to hone in on here is if you look at this slide, it says bold, born and raised in Michigan. Now, how many of you guys are from Michigan? Give me a hand raise. I want to know who's here from Michigan. All right, we got a handful of folks. Well, all the folks that are from Michigan here, you're probably going to hate me because I'm going to give away the secrets. Well, this right here is where I spent my summers. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful. You see, I spent time with family, friends, sat around a campfire on the lake. I learned to water ski, swim. I ate my first watermelon slice sitting around Long Lake in Harrison, Michigan. And this was a special place in my heart. Every weekend in the summer growing up, my parents, we were at the lake. Whether it was during the week, if we could have a full week, we were there. All right? Never did I not want to be at the cabin. All right. In fact, my parents are tuning in right now, and guess where they are? At the cabin. All right. Now, and from Michigan, I actually went to Central Michigan University, Fire Up Chips. If there's anyone here, had a great time there. And I ran into two of my now closest friends. I already introduced you to my buddy Dylan. And Dylan and I were recruited to do this crazy door-to-door sales internship called Southwestern Advantage. Now, depending on where you live, you might have had a college student knock on your door saying, I'm selling educational books to help other parents help with their kids with homework, all right? And so this is what I did, Southwestern Advantage. Now, what's interesting is there's over 100,000 alumni that have actually done this internship. And this is the most notable one, as you guys probably will recognize. Who knows these folks right here? Anyone know who these are? Type it in the chat. Oh, we got Tammy. I have bought many Southwestern books. Oh, Tammy, we love you. Yep, we know who that is. Chip and Joanna Gaines, all right? And Chip actually sold for 2 summers, okay? So kind of interesting to be, in the same, crew, whatever from that, all right? And so I was actually, when I was told about this, I was like, Chip's in it? Oh, Rick Perry, all these politicians, what, And I was pitched on the money, the possibilities. Marie said, Chad, if you come out and sell books this summer, I didn't even know what I was doing at this point. You can make $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, more than your buddies make in college, and you'll learn some valuable lessons in life. All right? Now, I had no idea what he was talking about. At this point, just to remind you guys, I'd never done sales ever, okay? Never in my life have I sold anything, all right, ever at this point. And I remember when I was in that moment of being excited. Of course, as a college student, I don't have all the confidence in the world yet, so what do I do when I try to make decisions? Well, I go ask mom and dad. And I said, Mom, what do you think of this internship? I don't know if I want to do it because the cabin, the summers, I can't leave it. It's so amazing. I've already told all of my friends that we're going to do this thing and do that. And my mom said, Chad, wait. Opportunities in life don't come by all the time. And sometimes when an opportunity comes, you have to take it because guess what? The cabin is always going to be here. The lake's not going anywhere, so take the opportunity when it presents yourself. And so, of course, that meant no summer lake at the lake, okay? And I decided to go venture on this crazy thing and go sell books door to door, okay? Now, this was 100% commission-based. There was no guarantees. I had no idea if I was going to be successful, all right? In fact, we did a very short training for about the first month before I left, all right? And then we were driving in a caravan. All the college kids that agreed to do this thing, they're going to get in a caravan, and we're going to drive all the way down to Nashville, Tennessee, where we're going to now meet up with thousands of other college kids from all over the country, all right, and go to sales school. And the purpose of sales school is to get us primed and ready for every challenge, all right, that was going to come up and we're going to face, all right? But keep in mind, I'm just a college kid from a small college town. I've never done this before. It was pretty scary. In fact, I don't think I've ever left the state of Michigan by myself, okay? I'm going to remind you guys again, I never sold anything in my life. I don't even think I realized what I signed up for. But I was dreaming of the possibilities. And as we drove from Michigan, all I could think about was, oh, the new guitar I was going to buy, the Taylor 300C, whatever. I'm going to finally get that guitar. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to leave the job as the dishwasher at the local college cafeteria. I'm going to have $5,000 in my bank account, right? I'm thinking about all these possibilities. And as you all probably know, eventually when you're up here, when you're really excited about something, what happens? The high begins to slowly wear off, okay? And it started to hit me as I crossed the border and I came up to the first sign of South Bend, Indiana. And there was a moment where I started to think, what did I sign up for? All right? The money, the excitement, I was so caught up in this moment. What am I doing? And fear was really beginning to set in. All right? Now, there's one thing I've learned in life is that where focus goes, energy flows. And so I was focused on, I've never talked to anyone. What am I going to say to these people if I just walk up to their door? You want to buy some books? What am I supposed to do? I've never done this before. And it was in that moment that my energy, everything was taking me, and I was thinking, what should I turn around? Like, what am I doing? And then I remembered I was taught how to do a pre-approach, okay? And a pre-approach is very simple, all right? So as you can see this gentleman here in this picture, well, it's the first thing that we were told to say to someone to break the ice. Okay, so the goal of a pre-approach was number one, to approach someone, introduce myself. Hello, my name is Chad. I'm with Southwestern Advantage, and I'm talking to all the families this summer about how they can help their kids, get prepared for the ACTs and help their kids understand math better. And I just spoke with Karen next door, and she mentioned that you guys had kids in high school, so I wanted to swing on by. All right, and so that was my introduction. All right. And then eventually I would ask for, hey, do you know who lives in the next house next door? And they would say, oh, it's Steve. And so when I'd approach Steve, I'd say, hey, Steve, it's Chad. I just talked to Dave and Karen. And his guard would drop a little bit. All right. Because I knew their name. They're just like, what's this guy doing? All right. So now the reason I share that with you is this is going to lead into our first lesson. If you guys want to get good at sales and overcome this fear, the first thing we have to do is we have to understand how to break the ice with confidence, okay? Now, the good news is I don't have to teach you guys anything crazy because we've had some amazing speakers that have also taught you guys this stuff already. The beautiful thing is your book is your pre-approach. Now, let me explain this to you. As you can see here, download the audiobook for free, but in order to get that, you got to put your name, your phone number, your email address in. And a lot of you guys, whether you are getting ready to sell a course or you have some sort of product or you have a team of people and they're scared, how do I reach out to these folks confidently? All right. Well, it's a lot easier when you know what you're going to say in a pre-approach. So here is a great script. So if any of you guys have cameras on your phones, I would just recommend taking a picture of this, okay? And you can mold it into your own. But it says, if I was picking up the phone, if someone opted in, I would say, hey, is this Susie? Well, yes, it is. It's Susie. Well, this is Chad. I'm with selfpublishing.com. Or you can say, I'm the author of the book on high ticket sales. I saw you downloaded my free resources from my book. And I wanted to check in and see how things were going. Is now a good time to chat for a few minutes? Very easy, very disarming. And the beautiful part is the difference of this. When someone that doesn't do pre-approach, we've all gotten a phone call from someone, and they might call you, Judy Grossman, and they might say, "Hello, this is Chad. I'm calling from the pest control company. Do you have any bugs?" And you say, "I don't even know who you are." Hang up, click, right? She's shaking her head. She's like, "Yep, I'm hanging up, I'm clicking." But if I would called and said, "Hey, is this Judy?" she'd be caught off guard. She'd say, "Yeah, who's calling?" "Well, hey, it's Chad. You actually applied for one of our surveys about, pest control support. Well, I just wanted to call and see if you still had an issue." That's it. "Oh, yeah, we actually do, Chad." So much easier, right? So pre-approach. You guys have their names already, okay? You guys have your names already, all right? In addition to not just approaching someone over the phone, but in a PR outreach email, we have the same ability. Aaron taught you guys this earlier this week. This is an example of what I do, but it's the same structure. I'm not going to break down everything you need, but I did introduce myself with confidence. I said, "Hello, James. I wanted to reach out because I have really been enjoying your podcast recently and love your take on sales and entrepreneurship. I recently launched a book, currently #1 bestseller. With content you are sharing alongside with having a similar background, I think we could bring an entertaining episode to your listeners." All right? As you can imagine, it's been hectic. You guys know the drill. All right? But I'm introducing myself because I already know their name. So do your homework. Okay? And feel free to take a picture of this, guys, if you'd like to. I know you got one from Aaron already, but really, really good stuff from a PR standpoint. Now, that being said, I continued on my drive because I felt at ease that I now knew of this thing called pre-approach. And as we continued driving along the way, we came to the next pass of the biggest city, Indianapolis, all right? Good old Indy. And as you can guess, the high began to wear off again and fear was setting in. And what did we learn just a moment ago? Where focus goes, energy what? It flows, right? Energy flows, all right? And so I started to think a little bit more about what I was doing. And part of me said, well, if I get in the door, how am I going to sell a product that I've never sold before? And so many of you guys might have just published your book and you've never really pushed it yet. Or maybe you just got that course done and you're trying to figure out, well, how am I supposed to explain it in a way where they're going to understand how good this thing can be for them, all right? And why they should buy it, all right? And of course, I remembered that I was given a sales script to follow. Now, the word script, I'm not a big fan of, all right? Because you sound like a robot. So lesson number 2, if you're taking notes, is you have to create a conversation structure. A conversation structure, all right? And the reason I call it a conversation structure is because it leads me in a direction and I know where I'm going. I'm going to break this down for you guys in a second, but I'm not reading from a script, okay? I'm having a conversation with folks. It's just kind of leading me, all right? I love this quote by Kim Orlesky. It says, your job is not to tell someone what their return on investment is. Your job is to ask the right questions for them to tell you, all right? And you do that by having a good conversation structure. So why do you need it, though? As I explained, it's a map. It navigates you to your destination, which could be closing the deal or landing the podcast interview, whatever. It allows you to take your prospect on an emotional journey, okay? But I love this. First time I ever saw this, it makes so much sense. We all love karaoke when we have the lyrics in front of us. It's way easier. We're way more confident, all right? So it makes a lot of sense. But here is a basic sales conversation structure. And so for all of you guys here, this is a great thing to take a picture of. This is an entire process, okay? So as I explain this, I would definitely recommend getting a picture. This will be a few minutes. But the first thing that needs to happen after you get that opportunity, okay, to sit down with someone, you of course need to build rapport. Rapport meaning trust. Be a human. Find common ground. If you guys can remember back to when you spoke to me or you spoke to someone on our team, we usually ask you questions like, where are you from? How did you find us? How long have you been wanting to write a book, right? And the point of that is we know that we're on a selling conversation, but we want to let you know that, hey, we are human. We're not just here to sell you something. We are people. Oh, cool, you're from Atlanta. I've been there. All right. Dana Moore, I've been to Atlanta. All right. I've been there. So that's really cool. It's a great place. I'd love to explore at. All right. And so that is the point behind that. The second thing you need to do is you need to set an agenda. All right. And this is an extremely important thing because you want to take control of a conversation, but it's not to be controlling. It's more so to give the prospect confidence that you know where you're going. Okay, and you know where you're taking them. So a great way to transition after the small talk and set that agenda is, well, gosh, man, Sandy, this has been really, really good so far. And man, great to hear that you're from Atlanta. Well, what we're going to dive into next is I'm going to talk to you about your book, and then we're going to talk about your goals, your challenges, and hey, at the end of this, if it makes sense to work together, we'll talk about what that looks like. And Sandy's going to say, yeah, that sounds great. She knows that I'm going to ask her some questions now. She knows there's a purpose to why I'm doing it. All right, so set an agenda. All right, the next thing is where the sale is made. This is the discovery. The sale is not made when someone passes you guys the money. Okay, that's false. Sale is made in the discovery. Okay, so it's extremely important to care and actually listen to people at this stage. All right, actually listen to people. All right, what are your goals? Why do you want to write a book? What are your challenges? What's really holding you back? All right, if you're a life coach and you're trying to get another client to help them overcome, they just got out of a recent divorce and that's maybe what your coaching offer is. Well, gosh, when did this happen? What's been the biggest challenge since you've left your spouse? Okay, and so you really, really want to care, all right? Because people buy from people that they like, all right? And people like people that care and that actually give a poo, all right? So, all right, they actually care. And so the next thing, number one, is now that you've heard everything and all their challenges and all their goals, now you can deliver your offer, okay? You can now deliver what you have for sale, all right? Now, a top salesperson doesn't just treat everyone the exact same, but they tailor their pitch to what the needs were in the discovery. Okay, this is very, very important. This is very high level. A lot of people don't think about this. But like a doctor, imagine if you guys went to the doctor's office, you said, my shoulder's hurting. And he says, well, where else does it hurt? Well, it hurts right here, and it hurts into my back, and all right? And you tell your doctor this, and imagine when your doctor prescribes something for you and says, well, here's a really nice ankle wrap. You'd say, huh? Ankle wrap? What? Okay, you'd say, did you hear anything I just said? I don't need an ankle wrap. I need something for my shoulder. All right? So make sure that you prescribe something that makes sense and ties to what they just struggled with. Assuming your offer has that. Okay? You're not going to lie, but assuming your offer has what it takes. Okay? And then we get into the price buildup. All right? Which I'll explain this here in a little bit, and then we're going to dive into the close. All right? But that is your basic conversation structure. Okay? And so here's the most recent book that I just wrote. I break this stuff down from start all the way to finish for you guys so you can actually understand a little bit more in depth because I know I don't have all the time in the world. So make sure you go check that out on Amazon. Would be helpful. I'm also in my launch. All right? Well, as I continued beyond Indy, all right, the car caravan kept driving through, okay? And I saw the last major city before I got to Nashville, Tennessee, which was Louisville. And as you all can probably guess, fear was beginning to set in. Yes, I can knock on doors and I can introduce myself. Okay, they did teach me on how to, talk about this product and pitch it the right way, whatever. But how am I going to collect money? How am I going to ask people to buy something? Oh my gosh, this is the scariest part of sales for the very first time. I remember asking for money and it was like, okay, it's scary. It is so scary. In this moment, I really started to think, why am I doing this? I'm literally going to knock on doors. I've never done this before. And part of me was thinking, maybe I should just pull off and get off this exit. I'll tell the car caravan that, hey, I'm just gonna go get gas, guys. I'm getting low. I'll catch up with you guys. Just keep going. Sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? And then when I go home, I can just tell all my friends that it was a scam. It's cool. It was a scam. They'll understand. All right? They'll understand. They won't care. And I only told a handful of people, so it's not like I blasted it to the world that I was going on this crazy internship to sell books door to door. So only a few people would know that I quit. So it's not a big deal. All right? And I really contemplated this because it was fear. It was setting in. And as we've already learned, where focus goes, energy flows. I wish we were in person so I could hear you guys say this to me. All right, where focus goes, energy flows. All right? And so I just didn't want to be like that guy. All right? I didn't want to be that guy. Okay? But then I remembered that I was taught how to close. Okay? The right way. The way that people actually want to buy something, all right? And so your final lesson is going to be how to close with confidence, okay? Even if you haven't made a sale, all right? And so closing with confidence is also known as having absolute certainty in what you have to offer, okay? And we went through deep desire on day one. You can get absolutely certain in what you're doing if you know down in your gut why you're doing it. It feels so much better, right? It's hard to be nervous when your heart's focused on service, all right? So, but how do we maintain that confidence? How do we get that certainty, all that stuff? Well, the honest answer is that you got to remember that sales is a transfer of emotion. All right, sales is a transfer of emotion. Now, a great example of this, all right, Steve Waddle came in the other day, and I don't know if you guys have seen him. He's been blowing up the chat and all the groups and showing everything he's been doing. But he comes up to me, and we chatted on the phone before he came in, and Steve has this really, really cool faucet. All right, and if you guys think of a faucet, it's curved, water flows out the bottom of it. Well, Steve's is very unique. Because at the very top of the curve, there's this little switch that you can turn, and water will come out when you turn the switch. So when you're getting thirsty, what do you usually do? You drink water like this. Well, now I can just turn this switch, and now the water comes out the top. Very easy. Great for dogs. I was thinking about that for my Great Dane, whatever. And it was interesting because when we talked on the phone, he's like, I'll bring one. I'll show it to you. And he comes up to me, and he says, Chad, I got that faucet. And he comes up to me with a lot of confidence and excitement is what he's doing. He's like, check this thing out, man. Isn't this cool? And it was actually very cool, don't get me wrong, but his confidence, it was very difficult not to be excited about it because he was excited and he knew it was good, which it is. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is so stinking cool. I've never seen anything like it, all right? And so when you tell someone, if you want someone to do something that you're trying to get them to do, don't be the guy that sounds like they're laying on a couch. I mean, imagine if Steve came up to me and said, oh yeah, hey Chad, I brought that faucet for you. You want to take a look at it? All right? I'm not going to be excited about it, right? So you got to remember that you got to bring a little bit of energy, all right, to help people be excited, okay? Super, super important, all right? But you also need to be willing to ask for their dollars, all right? And so I'm going to teach you guys an exact step-by-step how to do this. This is so good. This is literally magic, in my opinion, all right? But it is called the choice of two positives. Okay, I love this. All right, so after you have explained, a little bit about the program and what you have to offer, this is where everyone gets a little muddy in the waters because they know that, okay, I'm getting to this point where I need to eventually collect money, okay? So take a picture of this so you get a chance. Choice of two positives, and the answer is, what do you like best about what I've shared with you so far? Now, we don't want to ask it like that because it's too open-ended. So what we want to do is, based on what I've showed you, Carol, all right, you see, some people love the fact that there's a coaching element to my program, all right? That's the this. And others love the fact that they get an online course to support them. What do you like best? about what I have about the program, and they might choose something totally different, but it's like a 90% chance they're going to choose one of those two options. All right, I love that. Angela, she says, I use this with my toddlers for every choice I wanted them to make. Yes, do you want spaghetti or do you want, macaroni? All right, I want macaroni. All right, they're going to choose one of the two. Okay, so it's very valuable. All right, but it allows you to stay a little bit more in control, because the last thing I want someone to do is to tell me something they don't like. Because if I just said, hey, so what do you think? It's okay, right? So we got to lead with the choice of two positives. Make sense? If you get that, give me a heart if you get that. All right, I'm getting a lot of hearts. Thank you, guys. Okay, and here's another interesting thing. So Aaron talked about this with PR outreach email. So here's an example of me doing it in the email. Aaron does it in his, I did it in mine. Do you handle all of the scheduling, or would that be someone else? All right. Who does it? You or someone else? Choice of two positives, okay? So this is something that is way more useful than just collecting money. Now, the point of us doing this, guys, is it builds a little bit of confidence and momentum going into the moment, okay, where we ask for money. All right? And so after we've done the choice of two positives, and somebody says, Chad, well, I love the coaching part of the program. All right? That's really good, okay? But if you want to really feel good about asking for money, you do this. We call it the tie down. And so when someone says, Chad, I love the coaching part, well, a great tie down is the opportunity for getting someone to sell me on why they like what I have to offer. So I say, well, why is the coaching program so important to you? And then I just wait. And guess what? They're now going to tell me, well, Chad, I've been wanting to write this book for years. Or Chad, I just know I need some accountability, and there's moments where I get stuck and I need remotivation. And I just believe it's going to be the thing that sets it apart. Okay, now pause. As soon as I hear that, I feel good about signing someone up. You want to know why? Because I know what I have to offer is going to fulfill that need, okay? And so that is why a tie down is so good. Let people sell themselves so you don't have to be this guy, all right? The sleazy car salesman, all right? We don't want to be that guy. So you ask good questions, all right? Let people sell themselves, the tie down, all right? Now, you're probably wondering, well, Chad, you still haven't asked for money yet. What's the secret? All right, well, they're with me. I know they're excited. My confidence is building, okay? Well, this is an example of a price buildup. I'll be very brief on this, okay? As you can see, we've all seen an infomercial before. It was $7.99, now it's $2.99, right? It looks cheaper, whatever, numbers make sense. But one of the biggest things that sometimes what you guys want to do, if you are in a coaching program where you have an offer, think of Tony Robbins. We all know who Tony Robbins is, right? Has anyone ever heard of that guy? Yep. We've all heard of that guy. Snake oil salesman. I love that. All right. Well, Tony Robbins has a great coaching program. He has all these amazing coaches. Well, guess what? That offer might be $10,000, $20,000. And if you're someone that's specific, you do life coaching for folks that just got out of a tough situation at work, they're trying to overcome alcoholism, or they got out of a relationship, whatever. Well, you can compare your programs and say, well, hey, Tony Robbins, I'm sure you guys have heard of him. He does really, really good stuff. They charge like $20,000 to do it. Well, guess what? When somebody works with me, it's not that much. It's actually only $1,997, just shy of $2,000. Isn't that incredible? And then people think, yeah, that is. And so this is another momentum building question, all right? But here is how you ask for money, all right? Is we get ready to do the yes train. All right, I love this. I love this. I love this. I love this. Because as soon as I give the price, I know that $20,000 compared to $2,000 is a big drop off. And so the first thing I'm going to say is, man, now that you've heard of everything, man, isn't that incredible? And typically people say, yeah, that is. And then I'm going to ask another question, which is, can't you see why everyone has been excited about this? Yes. And then I'm going to ask one more question. Most importantly, can you see how this can help you succeed? Yes. All right. And the point behind this is NLP. I talk about it in my book. But when somebody says yes multiple times, they're more likely to say yes. It's almost like if you were drowning in the water and I threw you a life raft, would you catch it or would you use it? Of course you're going to say yes. So you want to ask questions like that, okay? You want to ask questions like that. Now, at this point, my confidence is at an all-time high. The person is with me. They like what I'm doing. They've answered the questions. They've told me why they like it. I haven't sold really at all, okay? This is where you need to ask for money. You don't say, so you got a checkbook? You got a credit card? No, you don't do that. You say, well, are you ready to do this? And insert validation means tell them that, man, what you have to share I think could be an awesome fit. I think we could be an awesome fit working together. I can help you do this. Are you ready to do this? That's a great question. And the worst thing they're going to say is no, or the worst thing that's going to happen is not yet. But I promise you, if you ask this to 10 people, 2 of them will probably say yes to you, and you will be surprised, and you will feel like it was magic, okay? And so, of course, I remembered all this stuff, and as you guys can guess, I eventually made my way to the beautiful state of Tennessee, and I was in Nashville, all right? And to wrap up my entire summer, I'm going to fast forward here. After I finished my first summer, right before, the weather gets cold in Michigan, yada, 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 all right? I was actually at my cabin with my buddies. We're sitting around the lake, and they all asked me, so how did that summer internship, how did it work? How did it go? And just give you guys a little bit of insight here. I worked 12 weeks in the summer, 108 hours. I knocked on over 3,200 doors per summer I did this. And I did it for a single summer. All right, I did it for one summer. And they said, how'd you do? I made about $4,500, all right? And he said, oh, cool, that's not bad. And he said, wait, hold on. How many hours did you work? I said 80 a week. He's like, whoa. And I could tell that he was like feeling that, this confidence. And he ends up telling me that, oh, you only made $3.87 per hour. Man. He's like, I was making $8.50 an hour, double, and I worked half the amount of time as you. And he's like, you're probably not going to go do that thing again, are you? And I said, well, funny you say that. I'm actually signed up for another summer. And that another summer turned into another summer, okay? And my third summer I did this, all right? I actually made over $50,000 profit selling educational books, helped pay for all my school, okay? So I learned a lot along the way. I started at square one, all this stuff, okay? And so I'm going to leave you guys with this, all right? Man, oh man, just seeing these numbers, I probably wouldn't be on the stage if I would have actually turned around. Oh, man. If I would have just turned around in Louisville, I wouldn't even be here. And so what I want to help you guys with today is the biggest thing that you need to do is, I know this conversation was about how to sell without fear. And so the number one takeaway is I want to switch this. Life is not about stopping to sell, or is not about trying to sell without fear. That is not what this is about. But we need to switch our mindsets, because instead we need to become comfortable selling with fear. Okay? Because a lot of us, we have this desire to start a business. We want to, write a book, whatever it is, and we have that fear inside of us, like, what do we do? Well, that fear is supposed to be there. It means you're a human. We just got to push through it. Whether you work with us or not, I know we're not going to give up on you, and you shouldn't give up on you, because you are worth it. And someday you can be on a stage like this too. So, love you guys. I'll see you next year. Author Advantage Live. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Oh, wow. That was incredible. Give it up for Chad.
How do we do?
Give it up for Chad. How many of you enjoyed that presentation? That was awesome.
That was my light.
Really awesome.
Pitch.
All right, look. We are moving into our next speaker. All right, we're moving into our next speaker. That was really powerful. All right, I want everyone to stand up. We're going to get the energy back up. Stand up. Let's dance it out. Come on now. Come on now.
Listen to me. Bring it in. If you are alive, I know you ain't reached your best yet.
We got a great speaker up next. But first, the dance party. Let's see it back on the screen. Let's see some dance moves. Nicole, Jane, come on now. Kimberly, that's incredible. Darlene, you're killing it.
You should feel invincible.
Oh, Kathleen, killing it. 1. And you're gonna wait for it.
Focus goes, your energy flows. Are you hearing me?
Where your focus goes, your energy flows. That was awesome. All right, let's transition into our next speaker. We got the energy back up. Great job, y'all. All right, so Chad just talked to you about sales. And you know, Chad's talked about, you know, how, you know, he's been responsible for a lot of folks that are here and changing a lot of lives over the course of the last few years. And a huge part of the growth that we've experienced at selfpublishing.com and Self-Publishing School. And so he kind of laid out that sales framework. Now, whether, you know, sales is everywhere in your author career, whether you want to go into business or not. And sales is ask for that PR and speaking opportunity, for that podcast opportunity, like he showed you that template. We've got templates in the PR and speaking program. We also have a sales script, so we call this a conversation structure, because we think that, you know, sales, it should be a conversation, not just a script where you're repeating lines, right? So we've got our conversation structure inside the Course Building for Authors program as well. So if you're a part of the Accelerator program, you've got access to that. But even if you memorize that talk, right, there's still going to be objections, right? So sometimes you'll say, hey, you ready to do this? And people say yes. A lot of times they've got some hesitation. All right, and so that's a perfect bridge into this next talk by this next speaker. All right, how many of you have been impressed by the setup that we've had these last couple of days at Author Advantage Live? Isn't this incredible? Right, so we've worked with Barry and Blue and the Sage Event Management Company. And so this next speaker is Barry Baumgardner, okay? And she's going to come out in just a second. But Barry is incredible, and her team's incredible. Everything that you see here is thanks to Barry and thanks to her team. She's coaching me up on how to give my talks. She's coaching me up on the process that she's about to teach you as well. She's worked with Matthew McConaughey. If you saw that big event a little bit ago, like a month or two ago with Matthew McConaughey, she produced and worked with Matthew on how to overcome objections in his sales talk, on how to structure that event, right? She's worked with Tony Robbins. If you've been to one of the big Tony Robbins events, a lot of those are either in the Sage studio or they're run by the Sage team. Dean Graziosi, Russell Brunson, you name it, Jeff Walker, Amy Porterfield, like that event. Remember, Amy talked about in this spot and working with Barry. So she's just incredibly talented. Over the course of 19 years, she's went from a guest bedroom in her house with a business card and an idea to just a massive company and a massive impact. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without her company. In 2020, when everything had to go virtual, there was no other option. And then they came and they said, hey, we think we can do this thing virtually. So she's going to talk about the 5 most common objections that can hold you back, that can keep you stuck, and how to overcome objections in your sales talk and when you're enrolling people in your programs or in your vision. So let's give a warm Author Advantage Live welcome to Miss Barry Baumgardner.
Thank you for that. It's so good. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Hey there. How are you? So good to be here. Oh, you up-and-coming authors. I was actually looking at the laser coaching applications last night and looking at the number of you that are 1, 2, 3 or more books already in. Some of you, a lot of you, are working on your first drafts. A lot of you are close to finishing your first drafts, and some of you are just getting started. And what I love about being in an event like this is it's kind of like yoga class. We can have some of us in downward dog and some of us with one arm, one leg up, and some of us in headstand, and we can all be learning together. Like, that's what's amazing about this community that Chandler and his team have created. And it's one of my favorite events of the year. I really appreciate Chandler and his team, and I'm honored to get to work with them every year. I'm honored to get to speak on their stage and be with you today, because I literally started my business, if we're being really honest, because I was procrastinating about writing a fiction novel, like a novel that I wanted to write. So I had this great big novel idea. If any of you out there, I know most of you, I didn't really know self-publishing was a thing back then. This is like back in 2004. And so I had a computer, an idea. I was going to write the next great American novel, but no one pays you to do that when you're an unknown. So I'm like, well, I better do something. And so I started a business. And, you know, lo and behold, here I am today. It's hard to believe 19 years later with this incredible 8-figure business that is based on helping speakers, authors, course creators, influencers, take their big ideas and get added leverage by making a high ticket offer and then launching a live event. And that's how I learned all about overcoming objections. We do an event here at Sage virtually every single weekend of the year. Take out the holidays, but pretty much every other week of the year, sometimes 2 a weekend. So we have a lot of experience in the offer and overcoming objection space. We've done over $1 billion in sales that we can track in high ticket offers for our clients. I wish that was all my money, not yet, but soon. But for our clients over the last 20 years. And so we know a lot about having closing conversations. We know about having them from the stage, and we know about having them from the back of the event room. And we know how to do it. And I think this is really important because many of you are probably intimidated by the whole thought of sales. Raise your hand if you're like, I'm being really honest, I'm a little intimidated by sales. Where are you? Yeah, I thought so. I knew it. Thank you for being honest. Okay. So here's what I want you to know so that you don't turn your brain off. Everything that I'm going to talk to you about today is about doing it from a sales is service mentality. Like at Sage, you really believe if we serve hard, we can sell easy. You don't have to be icky or salesy or sleazy. You don't have to be arm twisting. How many of you have realized that this weekend as you've heard about this incredible offer that they have for you that's been designed to be your perfect logical next step? Nothing icky, nothing salesy, nothing sleazy, all about serving you to the next level to make sure it doesn't end here. Because if we're being really honest, some of you will come for 3 days, take tons of notes, have amazing, great ideas, and then not do anything with it. That rough draft will stay in your desk. That rough draft never makes it out to the world. Sometimes you don't get to the rough draft. Or so I loved this Mike yesterday. It was like, yeah, my first book had no reviews. And thank God I found self-publishing because after that, I mean, look at the success he's had. So the path to that is certainly having accountability and community and enhanced opportunity. Having a community like this one around you will get you so much further faster. It's what I've devoted my life to. All of the events we do, I truly believe, change the world one live event, one attendee at a time. And that's what I mean by sales as a service. I know that if we can serve you hard, it's going to be easy to convince you that this is the logical next level for you. And why would I not want to do that? How crazy would it be if we brought you here, gave you all these amazing ideas, and we're like, good luck, go team go. And you're like, is there more? We're like, no, nope, that's all we got. You mean there's not a next step? Nope, don't have anything else. Good luck. Like that would be crazy. And I want you to think about that with your own business. Like you're going to give, I think of it as the Costco method, right? How many of you love going to Costco? Like raise your hand if you're like, I love Costco. What day do you go? Drop it in the chat. What day do you go to Costco? If you're smart, you go to Costco on Saturday. Who's putting it in there? I'm looking at the chat. Oh, so you guys are missing out. You're like Sunday, Tuesday. Saturday is the day because they have someone at the end of the aisle that has a sample. And samples are amazing. I like to go on Saturday because there's someone at the aisle like, hey, would you like to try this? I'm like, of course I would. And then you try it and they're like, 1 box or 2. And I'm like, I'll take 2. Put them in the cart. Like, that's what I mean by sales as service. Like, they give you a chance to sample something amazing and you love it. What if they were like, nope, can't have any. Oh, really? Because there seem like there are a bunch of boxes. Yeah, but they're not for you. Can't have those. Nope. Glad you liked it. Go team go. Have a good Saturday. Like, no, the whole point is to serve you and have you feel amazing and buy the things that are appropriate for you. So when I'm talking to you about all of this concept of overcoming objections, I want you to be thinking of it through that lens of sales as a service. So Chad talked to you about closing with confidence in conversations, and he gave you amazing tips, and those sales scripts are incredible, and you should absolutely be using what you learned here. And if you're going into Author Advantage, I sure hope you are, then, if you're going into this program, I want you to be using those to actually get yourself further faster. What I'm going to talk to you about is how you overcome the objections that are likely to come up when you have the sales conversation. Like, what objection is likely to come up, and which one, if you're being really honest, and you'll hear me say that a lot today because this is a lot about plumbing the depths and being really honest. You don't have to tell me, but I want you to be honest with yourself about where you are in this process, because being honest with yourself about where you are and acknowledging the gap from where you want to be and where you are is the ability to close the gap. Like, once we see the gap, we know what gap we need to close. So if you if you hear me say, if I'm being really honest, I want you to think about, if I am being really honest and open and vulnerable, where do I fall into the spectrum that Barry's talking about today? Because I really believe that overcoming objections is a life skill that you need to know. Not just a sales skill, not just an author skill, it's a life skill. And it's certainly a skill that you need to know if you're going to take a book and build it into a business. So let's talk about how it works. Now, the first thing I want you to think about is that what you're learning here gives you the freedom to work where you want, when you want, with whom you want. I think that's super important. Like, I hope you get that everything you're learning here this weekend gives you the opportunity to work where you want, when you want, with whom you want, make as much impact as you want, make as much money as you want, because books and building businesses from books are one of the fastest paths to time and money freedom and purpose and payday. You can have both. And again, when we think of sales as service, we want both. We want impact with our books. We want income with our books. We want purpose with our books and the work that we do and the words we put on the page and get out into the world. And we want payday with them too. We want to be paid for our zone of genius, for our great work. And here's the truth. As an entrepreneur who's been in business for myself for 20 years, who started this business out of a guest bedroom in my house, and Chandler was right, like just with a business card and a big idea, it's hard. Like, there's no magic wand. I don't want anyone, if there's anybody out there being like, it's not as hard as you think. It's easy building a business. It's not easy. But here's what's also true. It's worth it. There's nothing else out there that will give you the ability to work when you want, where you want, with whom you want, and have impact and income and have purpose and payday. And that's why even if what I'm talking about today initially is a little scary to you, it's really worth learning. It is the keys to the kingdom. It is the life skill that you need to know. Everything that you want is on the other side of being able to overcome other people's objections and being able to overcome your own objections. We're going to talk about that because they really go hand in hand. So what I've learned over my time on this planet about what it takes to get there is that it starts with the what you need to do, what you need to do. I think the starting point for all of us, and you know what I'm about to say or you wouldn't be here, is taking the call. Do you know what I mean by taking the call? It's like you know you're meant for more. You've had that little bit of wisdom, that little drip of knowledge in the back of your mind that's like, I know I'm meant for more. I know I'm meant for more. And it's about taking that call and stepping into it. A lot of people just turn that little voice in their head off. Nope, sounds too big, sounds too scary. I love, Jennifer's like, this topic is starting to make me sweat. Thank you for being honest, Jennifer. Breathe through it. Put your feet on the ground, just breathe through it. Take a deep breath. So taking the call, so you wouldn't be here if you weren't willing to do that, but the next step is giving yourself permission. So I'm here to tell you permission granted. You have permission to be who you want to be whatever you want to be on your terms. And then the next step in that, the what you have to do is take uncomfortable action. And again, you wouldn't be here if you didn't know that, but it's like you take one uncomfortable action, followed by the next one, followed by the next one, and before you know it, you're so much farther than you ever guessed you could go. The other is choosing faith over fear. Choosing faith over fear. You have to be able to do this in order to have an enrollment conversation. You're going to have to choose faith over fear and taking any of these considerably big moves because everything you want is on the other side of those big moves. And then the last one is believing that you are bigger than your limiting beliefs. We all have limiting beliefs. We all have imposter syndrome. Don't let anybody tell you that you get to a certain level and you don't have that anymore. It's not true. I wish it were true. It's not. We have a saying, new level, new devil. You reach a new level, there's a new thing waiting for you, a new limiting belief waiting for you. Now you could look at that and think, oh my God, that sounds hopeless, Barry. If that's true, I could never do this. And instead, I want you to think, that sounds amazing, Barry, because if I build that muscle, I'm going to be unstoppable. It's not by mistake that I walked out today to unstoppable because it's something I need to hear regularly. I'm constantly building my unstoppable muscle because every time I do something considerably amazing, the next thing is waiting. And I think that's amazing that in our world, we can embrace that, make it part of who we are, part of what we want to do, rise to the challenge, overcome it, and get to what's on the other side, which gets me to the last piece, the how. How do you do this? How do you overcome objections? How do you build that muscle? How do you become the next version of yourself? How do you birth that book out into the world and have it be received by the people that are just waiting on the other side? Just like at Roscoe, like that first page was amazing. I want more. And you're like, I thought you would one book or two, right? How do you do that? Well, you do it messy. You do it scared. You do it imperfect. And you do it anyway. You can write that down. I'm going to do it messy. I'm going to do it scared. I'm going to do it imperfect. And I'm going to do it anyway. That's how you're going to do the what, which is take the call, give yourself permission, take uncomfortable action, choose faith over fear, and believe that you're bigger than your limiting beliefs. Now, if you're like, I thought this was a talk on overcoming objections, it is. That's the starting point. Here's what I've learned about the life skill and how this all comes into that. First, it's knowing that that's part of the process, that what I just shared with you is part of the process of stepping into this bigger version of yourself. The next piece is knowing the steps you have to take and what you have to do to get there, how you're going to do it. And then you're ready to start thinking about, yeah, I think I could overcome objections, Barry. Tell me how. Tell me how you do it. So put in the chat, if you're ready to hear how to overcome objections, I want you to drop in the chat, I meant for more. And don't write it if you don't believe it. Only put it in there if you believe it. Just drop in, I meant for more. I meant for more. There you go. Nice. Yes, so good. So good. I'm glad to hear you're with me. Awesome. Great. Okay, so now we're in the right zone to receive this information. Because for any of the tactical skills that you learn here this weekend to work, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to get comfortable with overcoming objections. Now, I think of this as the art of enrollment. First of all, I do think it's an art. And second, I think enrollment is what we want to do. We don't generally want to sell people. We want to enroll people. We want to invite people. When I go to Costco and the woman says, would you like to try this? I'm like, yes, I would. I've been invited to try something. I don't feel like she tried to sell me anything. She invited me to have a sample of the thing that she has. And if I like it, I can take it. And if I don't, I feel really well served and I keep on moving. I don't dislike her because she gave me the sample. I'm like, well, that just made my Saturday so much better. Even though I didn't buy it, that was amazing, right? So that's how I want you to think about this. And then the next thing I want you to know is you have to know how to overcome your own objections in order to overcome others. You need to know how to enroll yourself before you can enroll other people. Now, hear me on this. The biggest mistake I see in our industry is people who are like, I just want to enroll. I want to sell. I want to get people to buy. I want what's on the other side of the purchase. I want impact. I want income. Why won't they buy? Why aren't they buying? It's so hard to sell. Instead of thinking about how to enroll them. Like, that's so much easier than trying to sell them. Like, trying to enroll them is so much easier. I'd like to invite you to do this thing. All of a sudden no longer feels icky or salesy or sleazy because it's coming from a place of service. Now, what I'm about to share with you is that there are 5 objections that you have to overcome in order to build your business, your book and author business. And what's interesting about this is that this has been proven. Like I mentioned, I've been doing this for 19 years. We've got over $1 billion in sales under our belt. We do events virtually every weekend with some of the biggest names in the space. And here's what I know. The objections are the same in every country, every language, every niche, every market. Exactly the same. You may be thinking, how's that possible? Because we've gotten to test it. And because I think buyers are buyers. Buyers are human and buyers are buyers. Their objections are the same. It doesn't matter if you're in the fiction niche or the sci-fi niche or the romance niche. It doesn't matter if you help people build restaurants or you help people in construction. Like, we work with people from all walks of life and the objections are the same. And here's how I learned it. In the beginning, when I would be at an event, I was literally starting to track the objections we were getting. And I literally had this long-running Word doc. And then finally, I'm like, this is way too long. So I started to put in an Excel spreadsheet. And then to organize it in the Excel spreadsheet, I'm like, actually, it kind of looks like they fit into buckets. So here's a bucket. I'm going to put everything that matches that right here. Here's another bucket, everything that matches that right here. Here's another bucket, everything that matches that right here. And I was literally doing this over years. And I was listening to what they were saying and then listening to the best responses to those objections and tracking them. And what I learned over time is that it all came down to 5 objections. And listen, I've been looking in your chats, and I think it's true for you too. From what I've seen, you all have, I may never be able to get this, hold on. You have the same objections. Clear guest canvas. Let's see, did that work? Maybe. Let's see. Oh no, okay. Yep, ta-da. My AV team right now is in stitches in the control room, and they're saying it's a miracle she figured that out. Okay, so. We believe in you. They just said in my ear, we believe in you. Thank you. All right, so there are 5 universal objections. They work in this order. If you had to guess, what do you think the first one is? What's the first objection you're most likely to hear? Just drop it in the chat. Emily got it right off the bat. Yep, time. All right, what do you think the second objection is that you're most likely to hear from any buyer in any market? You got it. It's money. All right, how about the third? What's the third objection? What's most likely to come up? Oh my gosh, you guys are my people. That's right. It is spouse. And with spouse, you can also think significant other, and you can even put partner in there. If you're selling to a business, it actually might be a business partner, not a life partner, but it's someone who helps control the buying decision. And then F, if you had to guess, what's the F? Friends, family, those are all good, but Catherine got it. It's actually fear. And then the last one, these are two words that work hand in hand. They work together. And if you had to guess, what things also control people? And it's actually the one that's most likely to be controlling you with all of these things. Yeah, I'm going to give it to you because this is a harder one. Signs and symptoms. It's a good guess, Emily. It's shame and self-doubt. Okay? So these are the 5: time, money, spouse, fear, shame, and self-doubt. And shame and self-doubt really work hand in hand. That's why they're lumped together. They work together. And here's the thing. You have to plumb the depths this way, meaning that you're most likely to hear about this one first: time, then money, then spouse. You hear about them in this order because it's the easiest to talk about time, and it's the hardest to talk about I'm in shame and self-doubt, right? If we're being really honest. And this is a good time to do that. Which of these are controlling you? Like if you really thought about when you're making a buying decision, it could be this weekend, it probably shows up the same way no matter what the buying decision is which ones are most likely to control you when you're making that buying decision. It's important to know that, and thank you for being honest. You don't have to tell me, but I love seeing it in here. I love it not for me. I love it so that you can see that your peers are all controlled by one of these, and acknowledging which one is going to make it easier to talk to people on the other end of the buying decision because it'll hold less control over you if you do that. Now, here's the other thing I want you to think about. This is all a continuum. And what I mean by that is that when someone tells you, I don't have the time, I want you to think right away on this spectrum, where do you fall in that? And the easiest way to get to that is 3 simple words. And I want you to write these down. In any buying conversation where you're overcoming objections, there's 3 simple words that you have to think about in order to get to what's really controlling them. And they're easy to ask. So if someone says, I wish I could, but I don't have the time, you know what you say? Oh, that's so interesting. Tell me more. Tell me more about that. Don't just rush in and be like, oh, no, you have the time. You've got the time. You can do this. You could make it work. No, you have to literally ask them what it is. What is it that's controlling your time? Tell me more. And they might say, well, I've got 3 young kids. Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations. Tell me more about your time commitment with them. How old are they? And here's what we're trying to establish on this time commitment is where they fit. Because here's the thing about the time objection. A time objection could sound like, I have 3 young children, an aging parent with Alzheimer's that I'm responsible for, a corporate job, and I'm trying to do this thing. And on the other end might be someone who's like, oh yeah, I'd like to do that, but if I do that, I think I'm going to have to not do tennis on Tuesdays and skip golf on Saturday. Now, those are both time objections, but they are at opposite ends of the spectrum. And it's true for money too. So let's say that someone says to you, I wish I could, I just don't have the money. You're like, oh, come on, you can find the money, you can afford it. This program actually makes you money. Instead of saying, tell me more about that. I would really love to know, like, why do you feel so constrained financially? Like, tell me more about why you don't have the money right now. Now, that's not a yes or no question. It's an open-ended question that they have to answer so that you can establish where they are on the continuum. Because if we're being really honest, saying I don't have the money could be like, wow, I'd have to liquidate my 401k to do that. I have that money. I could liquidate the 401k. If I did that, let me think, the average investment on my 401k, the average return on that is this, but this program or what I'm doing, this average return is this. Well, I'd be smart to liquidate my 401k. That's one money conversation. Another one is, if I were to drive I have a car, I could drive DoorDash or Uber Eats. I could look at it as a part-time bank loan. I could actually make the money for this. And listen, I don't have to do it forever. I could do this for 3 months just to make the deposit and the first payment. I could do this thing. And another one might be, wow, I would love to do this, but I'm barely putting food on the table and a roof over my head. I've got 3 jobs I'm working just to pay the bills. Those are all money conversations. They're in radically different places on the continuum. And here's the thing. You might think like, well, Barry, you must be really good at sales. Like you've probably done this for a while. And maybe you were born with really good sales skills. And I'm here to tell you that is not true. I learned this over time from having actual sales conversations, doing it messy, doing it imperfect, doing it scared, and doing it anyway, and watching masters of the craft do it too. And I will tell you, when I was a kid, I was in Girl Scouts, and I was so afraid of selling that I literally quit the Girl Scouts. I think the team is going to put a picture up of me, but this is literally a picture of me on my first day of school at the age I was when I quit Girl Scouts so I didn't have to sell Girl Scout cookies. Like, love the little uniforms, love the little cookies, loved all the things we were doing, did not love the idea. At that time, they let little girls go door to door and sell cookies. I don't think they do that anymore, which is a wise choice. But at the time, that's what you would do. And I'm like, that's a hard out. Like, that's an absolute no. I'm not doing that. But if someone had said, all you have to do is say, would you like to try these Thin Mints? I could have done that all day long. Like, I believed in Thin Mints. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe in my ability to sell, but I believed in Thin Mints. I could do that easily. I could literally be, would you like to try a Thin Mint? You're going to love these things. $1 or $2, right? And if you don't like that, how about a Snickerdoodle, right? I mean, like, seriously, if you believe in something, why wouldn't you get them to try it? And why wouldn't you ask the simple question, tell me more? Like, tell me more about that. Tell me more about why you're stuck. And I had to tell you that because the next one is harder. Remember I said we were going to plumb the depths and we'd start with time and then we'd go to money and then we'd go to spouse. So here's the thing. Spouse is one of the hardest ones to talk about. And spouse is absolutely a continuum. On one end of the continuum might be a spouse who in all seriousness is really just a big jerk and not supportive at all, and no matter what you do is never going to support you. And somewhere in the middle is a guy or a woman. A lot of times it's a guy though, because I will be honest with you, most of the people who claim their spouse won't let them are women, and I can say this to you because I'm a woman, and I have done it. And if you know who you are, you know who you are. Where you're like, I wish I could, but he won't let me. And you're like, well, he won't let you or you won't let you. Which one is it? Because a lot of times in the middle is this poor spouse on the other side who's like, why am I the asshole? Why am I the villain? Like, why am I the big jerk, right? Pardon my French. So, that is incredibly unfair to your spouse to lay all of that at their feet and be like, you're keeping me from doing everything that's ever been my dream. I wish I could, but I can't because of you. And then on the other end is some poor person who's like, I don't even know what you mean by writing a book and being an entrepreneur. I mean, I do know what it is to write a book. I can't imagine how you would do it. Not because I don't think you're capable, but I mean, do people like us write books? Is that really a thing? Like, they just don't understand how that could be possible. Now, my good friend Trent Shelton talks about this as vision and prescription. And I want you to think about this. If you had an eye problem and you went to the doctor and you said, I can't see anything, and they said, wait a minute, I want you to put on these, and they try all these different lenses, right? And eventually they put one on, you're like, that's incredible. I can see perfectly clearly. That's amazing. You're so excited, you buy the glasses, you run home, and you put them on your spouse, and you're like, you're not going to believe this. You're going to see so clearly when you put these on. And your spouse puts them on, it's like, I can't see anything. It's like really, really blurry. And you're like, really? That doesn't make any sense. Give them back. And you put them on, you're like, nope, super clear. Try again. Now, we know this is ridiculous, right? Your prescription is not their prescription, and your glasses are not necessarily going to make them see better. But think about this. If your big vision is to be a best-selling author, and your spouse doesn't understand how in the world that would work because it's not their prescription, it's not their vision, it's not their calling that we talked about, to ask them to have a bigger commitment to your vision than you do is kind of crazy, right? I mean, if you really think about that, and thank you, I'm seeing some hearts and some aha moments, some light bulbs out there, but it's really true. And this is a moment to be really honest. If that's how you're approaching your own permission granted moment, if you need permission, are you giving yourself permission or are you asking them for permission? So let's talk for a second about how this works, because you need to understand it. If it's you, you need to understand it for your own life. If it's not you, you need to really understand it for the people you're meant to support, or you will not be able to have this conversation. So here's how most people approach a spouse when they want to do something, when they actually want permission. It's like, hey, got a minute? Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about this thing. Yeah, I was thinking about doing this thing. Yeah, so no, I do remember the last time. Well, no, this thing's different than that thing. Yeah, I know. No, I do remember how he said, no, I would not spend any more money until I actually got results. Yeah, but no, it's different. I know. Well, okay. Yeah, no, I do remember how the last thing, I got it. You're probably right. I know I should just get a job. I know, yes. I know I complain about it all the time at the dinner table. Thanks a lot. And then you slam the door and you walk out. You're like, big jerk, totally doesn't get me, right? But how you had that conversation dictated the response that you got. So there's a saying that the person with most certainty in any argument wins. And remember when I said this is a life skill? You can use this with your clients. You can use this with your spouse. You can use this with your kids. You can use this with anyone. This is a life skill. The person with the most certainty in any debate is the one who wins. So here's the way to have that conversation. Hey, I need a minute of your time. First, I just want to thank you. You've been incredible. To give me 3 full days so I could focus on this book writing career of mine has really been extraordinary. I think we both know I really needed it. I've just been banging my head against that same wall over and over again. And here's what's crazy. It turns out that there's a whole method, a whole system for writing a book. Like there's literally a proven and predictable path. I don't have to do it on my own. I can self-publish. There's a whole way. There's even people out there that will do it for you. They design the cover. You go through the whole thing. Like, isn't it amazing? And I was thinking to myself, this is so crazy how I've been trying to make you my coach, how every dinner conversation I'm asking you for feedback on how to write my book, when actually that's kind of crazy because you don't know anything about writing a book. So the good news is I found someone who does and a whole community of people doing it. So I no longer have to make you my coach and my whole support network, which takes a lot of pressure off of you and of me, if we're being really honest. And I have this whole group of people around me. I'm going to get this done. And here's the thing. If you will support me in this, because I think we both know I really need this. Like, I need to do this. I have to do this. If you will support me in this, here's what I'm going to do for you when I get the book done. And then give them the reward. I'm going to take you on a trip. I'm going to, if you give me Saturdays to work on the book, I'll give you Sundays to go play golf. You barter with them to give them a thing that is a reward for supporting you. You don't ask for their permission, you ask for their support. It's a totally different way of doing this. And it matters a lot because so many times we're laying all of our problems at someone's feet who doesn't have our same vision and asking them to make the decision for us, which is considerably hard to do, both for you and for them. And here's the other thing. When you barter and you have that conversation, you then have to do it. You can't then not show up. You can't then not reward them. You can't then not come to them and be like, remember how I said if you would support me? Well, look, first chapter, done. Rough draft, done. In fact, I know I wasn't supposed to do anything for you until the book was published, but I'd like to go out and celebrate tonight, my treat, because you have been amazing in supporting me. Like, that's how you have to show up to dictate how they're going to show up. Your vision is bigger than theirs. You have a different calling than they do. Only you can grant yourself permission, and you have to be able to find out where you are on this continuum with your spouse, with your partner, and be able to do that with the people that you're meant to serve. The next one gets into fear, shame, and self-doubt are all kind of interwoven together. Now, fear comes first. I wish I could, but I'm afraid to do it. And fear controls us a lot. Do you know that Jim Carrey movie where he asked Cameron Diaz on a date and she's like, there's 1% chance I'll do it. And he's like, so you're saying there's a chance, right? He's like, there's still a chance. I think for some of us, our dreams are so big and we think if we say yes to committing to them and then it doesn't work, we've killed our dream. And we can't survive without our dream. We're actually so afraid of our dream not working that we'll say no to the dream in order to keep it alive, which is super counterintuitive and doesn't really work, but happens all the time. And again, this is one of those moments to think if you're showing up in this way. There's a saying, if you're swinging for the fences, no one gets a home run every time, right? So you're thinking oh, it better be a success, or the last time I did it, it wasn't, or I had a false start with the book, or I only got to 2 chapters, or, like Mike, I got 0 views on the last one, 0 reviews, 0 sales. And you think, I must not be meant for this. And fear comes in. Instead of thinking, oh, that's part of the muscle building I have to do. Look what's on the other side of this. Something amazing. Because here's the thing. In sports, we don't sit there and watch sports and think, if you don't make the basket every time, you are such a loser. You didn't get that field goal. Why did they even let you on the field? How did you get that big salary when you keep missing those baskets? When you keep missing that hole, you don't get a hole in one at every, how'd you get on the golf course? We would never say that to a sports star. We know that failure is built into the process of what? Winning. But when it's ourselves, we're like, well, I whiffed that. I must not be meant for this. I must not be meant for more. I must not have the right call. My vision, my prescription must be off, instead of thinking, well, what did I learn from that one? And how could I do even better? That's what the most successful sports stars do. Why did I miss the basket? How do I avoid that next time? Importantly, they'll also say, how do I get someone to coach me so I can get there faster? How do I get someone? There's no one that you admire in sports and celebrity in any field that is at the top of their game that doesn't have people around them who've already figured something out they don't know and is helping them to get there faster, simpler, and easier. Right? And that's why we have events like this. That's why we learn how to overcome objections. It's why we make offers so that we can get you where you're trying to go instead of saying, well, that's all we got. Good luck with that. Right? So you're looking for someone who can help you overcome the fear and get it right more often than not, to skip some of the mistakes, to collapse decades into days, to have fewer mistakes, to have more wins, to get more home runs, and get them more quickly and easier than you ever thought possible, which is where shame and self-doubt comes in. Because if we have enough failures, then we start the shame and self-doubt spiral, which is, I've had so many failures that and here's the thing to think about. A past failure is not a predictor of future success. And so if we know that, it's important to stay in the game and hold shame and self-doubt at bay. But what so often happens is we'll say, I'm so ashamed because I failed myself. I'm so ashamed because I procrastinated. I'm so ashamed because I didn't do the work. I'm so ashamed because I made a bad investment. I'm so ashamed because the person I invested in didn't show up and do the work. And your buyer is thinking that too. So why you have to plumb the depths for yourself is because you are a mirror for them, and whatever is a trigger for you is likely a trigger for them. So if shame and self-doubt over procrastination or not showing up or having a fear or having a failure is showing up for you, it's likely showing up for them, and you have to find out where on the continuum. And I often simplify this to just thinking about this simple analogy. If you had a child, how many of you have children? Like, raise your hand if you have children. Grandchildren, you've been a child, you know a child, there you go. So you know when a child is trying to learn to walk, they kind of stand up and then they fall down. They stand up, then they fall down. And then eventually you see their little wheels turning and like, I'm going to crawl over to the sofa, pull myself up, and then they fall down again. And you're watching this whole thing, and you're like, never going to be a walker. I should just adjust my expectations. I mean, you keep trying this thing. You stand, you fall. You stand, you fall. Like, clearly, you're going to be a crawler. I'm just going to adjust my expectations. You're going to crawl your way through life. You are clearly not meant for this walking thing. Like, you're really bad at it. We would never say that. It's a ridiculous example, and that's why it works so well, because we would never say that to child, but we say far worse things to ourselves. Like, you have one stumble, one fall, and you berate yourself forever. Must not be meant for that, instead of thinking, wait a minute, I need to do it messy. I need to do it imperfect. I need to do it scared. I need to do it anyway. I really do need to take that call. I really do need to grant myself permission. I really do need to choose faith over fear. I really do need to believe that I am bigger than my limiting beliefs. I am bigger than my limiting beliefs. You have to think of it in that way and know that it's a badge of honor, because here's the thing. The people who never swing for the fences, who never try, never fail. And at some point you have to think about, is it scarier to stay where you are, or is it scarier to have a failure on the path to where you know you're meant to go? And you have to hold that space for yourself, and you have to hold that space for the person that you're meant to help. Like, it's critical in overcoming all of this. And here's a key, and I want you to write this down. Whatever is your reason not to should actually be your reason to. I'm going to say that again. Whatever is your reason not to should be your reason to. And what I mean by that is, if it is time that's holding you back, then you of all people must solve the time problem, or you'll never get where you're trying to go. If it's money that's holding you back, how are you going to all of a sudden manifest more money if you don't start to do things differently? If your spouse is not supporting you, truly not supporting you, not capable of supporting you, you of all people need an amazing community around you so that you're not stuck out on a ledge by yourself. As you heard it yesterday, and you already knew it before you heard it, authorship is lonely. It is hard, and there's nothing lonelier than being with someone who doesn't support you. So get in a community of people who do and who will. And if you're afraid, isn't it time to just let that go and step over that? Be like, I'm done with letting fear control me. I am done with never living into my full purpose because I'm so afraid, and I'm done of letting you do it too. You take a stand for the people that you're meant to help. First, you help yourself. It's like that air mask analogy, and then you help the people you're meant to help. And if you have shame and self-doubt, it's time to let that go. I'm not going to go into a Frozen song right now, but you should let it go. Like you should really let it go. Like, isn't it time to just be done with that? So this is the hierarchy of enrollment. And then there's also a hierarchy of objections. And this is the hierarchy of enrollment. It's you. It's your family. It's your inner circle. It's your team. And then it is your client, the person that you're meant to help, your prospect. And the same way that this works this way, this works this way, meaning that in order to serve our client, we have to first enroll ourselves. So you enroll yourself first, then you enroll your family, then your inner circle, then your team, then your client. And so often we're trying to leap up here and expect our client to agree, to say yes to us before we've said yes to us, before we've even tried to enroll ourselves, or even tried to enroll the people that we live with. That's your family, the people you live with, your mother, your sister, your brother, your husband, your wife, your significant other, your business partner, the person that is in your closest space who helps control your buying decision. You have to enroll them. That's your responsibility, your vision, your prescription, your calling, your permission, your support. And then your inner circle. Your inner circle are the people that are like your book club, your college friends, your tennis buddies, the people who don't live with you, but still hold considerable sway over you. And then your team, if you have one, because believe me, if your team has been with you for a while, you're probably bright, shiny object creative, and they're tired of all the bright ideas you're going to have that you never complete. So when you come to them with the new one, they're like, oh no, here she goes again. I know my team feels that way. So I have to enroll them when I have a big vision. When Matthew McConaughey came to us and said he wanted to do an event, we had like 2 months to produce it. We didn't have really the time or the team to do that. And you know what? I said, yes, anyway, it's freaking Matthew McConaughey. I was like, go team, go, we're doing this. I had to enroll my team in it. Granted, a little bit easier when he's on the other side of it, but I still had to enroll them into it. We have to enroll our teams into our big vision. And then your client, your prospect is the top one, because here is where you're building that muscle. There is where you're learning the art of enrollment, the science of enrollment, how to overcome these things. And I want you to think of it this way. You're thinking, I can do this. I'm going to take the call. I am enrolled in myself and my big vision. Your family, your spouse, it's, I need to do this. You have to say that to them. I need to do this. Permission granted. Ask for support, not permission. Your inner circle is, I am doing this. Hey guys, I'm doing this. I'm going big or going home. I am doing this. I am choosing faith over fear. And to your team, it's, we can do this. Team, we got this. We can do this. We are bigger than our limiting beliefs. I am bigger than my limiting beliefs. And then when you get to your client, your prospect, it's, I can do this for you. And that's where you do it messy, do it scared, do it imperfect, but do it anyway. You will get better as you do it. You will never get better dreaming about it. You'll only get better doing it. So as we're thinking about this and plumbing the depths and how all of this works, I just want to leave you with one thought, because I know for many of you, this is a moment where you have to make a decision. We're about to go to a welcome celebration for all the people who are saying yes to themselves, who are coming into this program. And I know some of you are still on the fence. And I have to say, like, that procrastination and indecision, being stuck on that fence is the most miserable place to be. It's the worst form of self-abuse, when your heart has already decided, but your head is lagging behind. And there was a time in my life where I was having this exact same situation. I was married to my first husband, and he had a family business that was considerably huge. It was multiple family businesses all combined. And one imploded, and then the next one imploded, and then the next one imploded. And part of why I started Sage was to fund my book writing and procrastinate about it, if we're being really honest. And part of it was because at that time in our life, Brian had stopped making money and someone needed to start. And like, I know what I'm good at. I'm good at live events. I can make money from live events. And so I started this business out of a bedroom in our home, a guest bedroom in our home. And as Brian's life started to fall apart, Brian started to fall apart. And it was like an extra drink at dinner, and then we'd start to have cocktails before dinner, and then it was like maybe he was having drinks in the afternoon. And before you knew it, it was a full-blown alcohol problem, like drinks all day. And if you've ever been in a situation where you're with someone who has a true addiction to anything, but in my case, it was his addiction to alcohol, you know that you cannot solve it for them. Like, as much as I wanted to, I could not fix that for him. And I had started Sage to keep us afloat. And I always say it was a just until business. I started this business just until he got on his feet, just until we could fix this problem, right? It wasn't intended to be an 8-figure business. It was intended just until he could pull it together. And as it got worse, I finally went to him one day, and I was about to go on a trip for an event, and I said, listen, we both know this is untenable. Like, I cannot continue to watch you do this. Like, I'm going away for a week, and you have to make a choice. Like, stop the drinking. We've got to figure out what you want to do with your life, and we have to get started. I'm happy to support you through this, but I can't enable you to stay where you are and with what you're doing. It's incredibly self-destructive for you, and it's starting to impact me and our marriage and our life. And so I left, and I came back, and when I came back, I could tell the minute I walked in the door, he'd already had a drink. And so there you have it. Like, that's your answer, you know? And I remember in that moment, like, both of us, just like the impact of it. I can still feel it, like, in my chest, like that impact, that knowing. Like, I was hoping you were going to make a different choice, but you didn't. And now I have to do the scary thing. I don't want to go. I don't want to leave. I don't want to be out there on my own. I don't want to pull this marriage apart, the house apart. Anybody who's been through a divorce knows you're just unraveling all the things that you spent years putting together. And I also know I can't stay here. And at that time, I had literally been watching like Sex and the City and Friends, and I would be working late at night. It was like all the time working. And it was like, I know this isn't realistic, but I kind of felt like I knew them and they were my friends, and they were in New York City, right? And so I should be in New York City. So at that time, I made this leap of thinking, I should be in New York City. I'm going to go to New York City. I'm going to get a divorce, and I'm going to go to New York City. And I went to my mom, who's always been like a huge advocate for me, and told me I could do anything I want to do. And I wouldn't be where I am without her. She is an amazing force of nature human who helped make me one too. But at this moment in time, I went to her and said, I'm going to move to New York City. And she said, you can't move to New York City, Barry. Like, you don't know anybody there, which was true. It's the most expensive city in the country. Also true. You're going through a divorce and you're starting over. I have an idea. Why don't we have a basement. We can turn it into an apartment for you, and you could live there while you get your life together. You'll have your own entrance. You can come and go as you please. You don't have to answer to us. You're not living at home. This is just a temporary solution. And I remember thinking, that's a really good offer. I really should do that. And then I remember thinking, if I do that, I am not coming out of that basement. I'm going to die in that basement. Literally, figuratively, I'm dying in that basement. 38 years old, go back into your parents' basement, you're done. And I did the hardest thing I've ever done, which is say to my mother, I don't think that's right. I'm going to New York City. And I'm a pleaser, so it is not easy for me to say, I don't think you're right. I'm going to do something that's the opposite of what you're recommending. But here's something to know about the people who love us the most when we ask them a really big question. Because I really was asking her for permission to move to New York City, and she was saying, no, not a good idea. And then I went to, I need support, not permission, because I know I'm supposed to be there. I know it's crazy. I know it doesn't make sense. And I also know I'm supposed to be there. I'm going to go there. I had to overcome my own objections, and then I had to overcome hers, and then I had to constantly re-enroll myself in this bigger vision because it wasn't easy finding the apartment and getting approved and all the things it takes to be a solopreneur, divorcee, trying to get an apartment during a height of a time where every euro was like prepaying for apartments at that time. European dollar was really strong. That was a crazy time. But I did finally get a landlord who said yes to me. And you know how I did it? I enrolled him. I had a long conversation with him. I begged his realtor, let me talk to him. Let me tell him why I'm a good choice, why he should bet on me, why this apartment should be mine. Well, I will never let him down with the payment if he'll just give me a chance. And I made that compelling argument, and he said yes. And I will forever be grateful to Rolf Staub for saying yes to me for that. Because I remember then going from where I was living in my sister's house while this was all going on to New York City. And I literally took an AeroBed. You know, an AeroBed is like a bag with a bed rolled in that you can blow up. And I stuck my sheets in it, a toothbrush, and one change of clothes. And I went on the train from DC to New York with my AeroBed bag. And I remember walking into my apartment in the city that was like the one I'd wanted to live in forever, that was super scary and super crazy to do, and just turning the door. I remember walking in there. I could still smell the smell of that apartment, and spreading out that AeroBed and blowing it up and putting the sheets on it and crawling in, and like literally just like the cacophony of like cabs and people on the street just sounded like an orchestra to me. It was like the best thing. I felt so at peace. And I think when we know we're meant for more and we take the call, that's the kind of peace that comes when you say yes to yourself. Permission granted to yourself. I got the best night's sleep, and it was a year of magical thinking. It started the year of the most incredible year of my life, living life on my terms and my way with my big dreams and my big vision and my big why for creating the life I knew I was supposed to lead. And in New York City, I met my current husband, my last husband, he likes me to say, and not my second husband, my last husband. And he's also my business partner. And he is the most incredible human. And we get to do life together. And he is like so right fit for me. And I often think about if I hadn't said yes to myself, I would have never found him. He was on the other side of all the fear, of all the shame, of all the self-doubt, of the way I grew up, of whether people like us could do this. Nobody moves to New York City who grew up in Pocahontas Village. It just doesn't happen. If I had listened to my mother and gone to the basement, I would have never met Blue, and I would never be standing here with you today. I would have never grown into the version of me that's meant to be. It was all on the other side of choosing commitment over convenience, of saying yes to myself, of giving myself permission, of choosing faith over fear, of doing it messy, doing it scared, doing it imperfect, but just doing it anyway. And right now, I want to show you, I think this picture is about to come up, and I'm over time, so I apologize to everyone, but really quick, I'm going to wrap this. What you're seeing is the house I grew up in Pocahontas Village, and the house that Blue and I bought when we left New York City. A house on the water, our dream house, the house that we had always wanted since we were kids, and when we came together, had a mutual vision of what it could be, what that life could be. And then the house that we live in now, in Charleston, South Carolina, walking distance from our amazing studio, a mix of France and New York City and all the things we love. And so now we have a beach house and a city house and a most amazing life and business. And I say this not to brag to you, because nobody needs that. I say that because if I can do it, if I can grow up in Pocahontas Village and I can end up here, you can do it too. I have goosebumps because I know it's true. You can do it too. It just starts with choosing Broadway over the basement. You're in one of those moments of, are you going to choose the basement or are you going to choose Broadway? And I hope, whatever your Broadway is, that you will choose you and you will choose striking out for the big city and for the dreams that you know you're meant to have, because you are meant for more. Thank you for listening.
Wow, incredible.
Sorry for going over.
No, you're great. That was awesome. Incredible. Hey, give it up for Barry. Give it up, give it up, give it up. How awesome was that, huh? How awesome was that? That was such an inspiring session. I love this. It's lighting up right now. Any of you who know me well know that I take a nap every single day. And that was my block where I was supposed to take a nap, and I couldn't take a nap because I was just so enthralled by what Barry was saying. So hopefully I get a nap later. That was just an awesome session. Drop in the chat your biggest takeaway from this last session. Okay, biggest takeaway from this last session. Drop it into the chat. I hope that you've been enjoying day 3. We got a couple exciting speakers coming up here in just a bit. We got Russell Brunson coming up. I'm doing the closing talk later. We're going to create a goal, create a plan. Let's see, permission to do it. Ask for support, not permission. Give yourself permission. We've got choose commitment over convenience. Choose Broadway. Love that. So we're about to go into a break, okay? And for some of you, this might be your basement or Broadway moment, all right? And you've got the opportunity to choose basement or Broadway, all right? Because we're about to go into the Author Advantage Accelerator welcome celebration. And I'm seeing more and more green towels all over the screen. And I know there's a lot more people that have enrolled with us that have even changed their backdrop, because it has been absolutely bananas. All right. So for those of you who are on the fence, who are thinking about making that decision, committing to yourself, committing to this book over the next year, and joining us in the accelerator, it's not too late. Okay, we've got a no person left behind policy, and we want to make sure if this is a fit for you, we can help you. All right, so we're about to go into a break. Like I said, we've got about 15 minutes until the AAA welcome celebration begins. All right, in that 15 minutes is a great opportunity to do one of two things. All right, I'm going to head on over to this dashboard. So if you haven't already, you need to hop in this dashboard, and click that I'm all in button. All right, click that I'm all in button, head on over to the page, put down your deposit, and join us in the Accelerator program. All right, we've had a bunch of people joining, like I mentioned. Comment in the chat, I'm all in. If you're on your way to joining the Accelerator program, or if you just joined the Accelerator program, I believe that this is going to be one of the best decisions you've ever made. I hope that you'll be able to look back and share a similar story as what Barry was talking about, this is your basement to Broadway moment, right? That moment where you say, hey, I've got these big dreams, and I'm going to choose commitment over convenience, right? I'm all in, I'm all in, I'm all in. Love it. Cody, Jennifer, Joanna. We've got David, Tracy. Awesome. All right, so click that button, the I'm all in button. Now the second piece in this next 15 minutes, so we're about to go for 15 minutes until the welcome celebration starts. My team is here to talk to you and to answer any questions that you have. All right, so no one left behind. Click this Talk to Our Team button if you have questions or if you're having trouble completing your order. We want to talk to you right now and make sure that you get in before the welcome celebration starts. All right, now if you've already joined us this weekend, you should see this big button that says welcome lunch, okay? And so this is the welcome lunch button. If you don't see the button, then just reach out to the help desk. We'll make sure that you're taken care of. I know we've had a couple glitches with the dashboard that we're working on fixing as we speak. Okay, so we're going to roll into a lunch break. I think all in total, we've got about 60 minutes, but we've got 15 minutes until the AAA welcome celebration starts. All right, so if you're already in the Accelerator program, you got 15 minutes to grab some food and hop back in for the welcome lunch. If you're not in yet, click that I'm all in button. Go ahead and roll right now, or click that orange Talk to Our Team button. Chat with the team. Let's help you out, see how we can get you enrolled, and we'll see you in the welcome celebration. All right, talk to you soon.